Candace.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon to
Good
you.
morning, good afternoon, good day, good everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yes, it's good morning over here. I'm in sunny California and in the brotherly love in
Yeah,
Philly, it is good afternoon. So, it's good afternoon. So, how are you
I'm
doing?
good. How are you today? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited. I'm good. I'm doing great. Vacation is coming up for me.
Oh,
So,
shucky ducky.
yeah, I know, right? So I'm excited because vacation is coming up for me, and I'm excited because you know what, Dr. T, I need it. I need it. My body is on its own clock, so every 90 days, my body tapping me on my shoulder. Hey, ma'am, aren't we
Amen.
ready? I'm like, no, we only 77 days in. We got to work some more.
I I know that's right. I know
Yes,
that's right. Girl, I can't
absolutely.
wait till I get to your level where I can start doing that myself.
I had to for my mental health and physical health and just my well being. I said, you
Mm.
know what? And you want to know who gave me this idea? And my mom
Cool.
does watch the show. So, but she always watched the shows after I got to send it to her.
Mhm.
My mother gave me
Cool.
that idea. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He said, work 90 days, go hard and kill it. Just work. And then 2 weeks off vacation and start it over and just keep doing it and just keep doing it. That way you don't become burnt out and overwhelmed. And she's absolutely right. The only thing I've gotten used to taking this vacation, so I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm anxious. My
Mhm.
body is like, hey, should we shut down? My body has its own circadian rhythm. So there you go. Yes. But other than that, I'm good. So you're doing well?
I'm doing great, and it's like so funny because I just think about with you saying that, right? I think about the very first job I had when I started working as a therapist. I
Hmm.
worked on my job for a year and a half, I think, or it was well over a year, right?
Hmm.
Never called out sick, never took a day off, never used personal time. And that was back when I was working at actually Presbyterian Hospital here in Philadelphia. And when I tell you they gave us personal time, 5 days personal, rolling vacation, which was like over 12 days vacation, 2 weeks vacation, 5 days virtual. They also gave us what else did they give us? They gave us we got sick time, 12 days sick. Girl, I ain't never called out sick, never did
Oh,
anything. I mean, I went hard like that. I want to say for a year, but I believe it was 2 years I went hard like that. Let me tell you, we were sitting outside one day and my neighbor was just like, we was just talking, and I said, I never called out. And I said, oh no, I don't call out sick and I don't do this. They was like, if you don't call out sick, we gonna beat your ass. I was like, what? And look, and I was a grown woman. I'm like,
yeah.
what? You not going to work. How many days can you stay home before they write you up? I said 3. Okay, well you taking off Monday and Tuesday because it was on a Friday. You're not going to work. You
Mm,
work like, are you serious right now? Never took no time off. And they was just like, enough of that. It's time
mhm.
for you to
It's
stay
time.
off. And I
It's
was just like,
time.
oh my God. So I looked up and I said, you know what? You're right. I need to do this. And that's what I did. I
As
called
you
off on Tuesday. And then after that, I was just like, all right, now it's
should.
time for you to start taking some time. So then I started
Yes.
taking long weekends, Thursday, Friday, Monday. And that's when I started, going hard
Hmm.
with it. Well, let me tell you, when my father died back in 90, oh my God, 97, I'm sitting up here
Hmm.
acting like I never forgot, right? Knowing tomorrow is 25 years of his death, right? And so it was like in 97, right? So I stayed home. My job was doing mandatory furloughs. Girl, I took the hit for my unit. I took the hit. I told everybody I'ma stay home. My doctors wrote me out because they was like, you gonna have a nervous breakdown. They said the 3 major things that can happen to you that could actually put you in a hospital. 2 of them happened to me, which was the death of a loved one that
Hmm.
was close, death of a parent,
Hmm.
and being laid off from work. That's 2.
Hmm.
They said you got one more, and that would be your physical health. That would
Absolutely.
So you got to come out. So I came out of work, and I stayed out of work. No lie, my father died June 4th, 1997, and I went out from work about June 8th ish. From June 8th through September, like September 10th, no, September 8th. I went back to work, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that was like all of July, all of August, all and part of September. So I was out for close to 3 months. 3 months I was out, right?
You needed that.
Let me tell you, went back to work September the 8th. What do you think happened to me on September 10th, September the 11th?
Uh,
Got laid off.
get out.
I, yep. So I was home. So I got laid off and I was home for another I was home after that for like another 6 months. Girl, that's when I was hanging out in New York. I was doing the damn thing back then. But yeah, so when you talk about taking that time off, like you taking time off every 3 months, taking your vacation, girl, yes. And it's just like now just trying to see how I can work implement that into my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, we work way, way, way too much.
Too much. Oh my God, too much. I know. I know. We talked about that the other night. I know. Oh my God, we talked. Yes, yeah, worked a lot. So
I
I know.
know that's right.
But I'm
Hey
glad that you
T,
did
hey
take time
Alex,
off.
how are y'all? And everybody
Hello.
on I'm on IG the same time. Hey Corey, hey Kimmy, how are y'all? Yes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I'm on both devices at the same time, rocking it, trying to get people to get over here to our YouTube channel and watch us live on YouTube.
Exactly, exactly. I'm glad the ones, but see, D and Alex don't always show up. I
They
love it. I love it.
look,
I love it.
they are riders right there,
Yes,
okay?
I say all the time when we get on TV, I don't care where we at. I don't care if it's Atlanta. I don't
They
care if
coming
it's
with
New
us.
York. I don't
Look,
care
they
where.
coming with us.
I'm flying them out first class and they sit in front row. I know I'm not playing.
Yep, they coming with us.
Yes,
Y'all coming with us. Y'all
absolutely.
are coming with us.
That's right. I'm just too excited. So, yes, this is a good show today. We're going to have a good show today. We want to thank everybody for joining us. We always talk behind the scenes. So, we get better. We get better with the times. We always talk behind the scenes because we're two busy women. And no, I'm sorry. I misspoke. We're two productive women. So, we always got something going on. However,
Mhm.
thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up. Please share and share this live, and please watch the rest of our lives. And thank you again for being here. We're the Mental Health Minute. We're going to get started on our show. So, T, you know what time it is. What you got for us today on Tea Time?
Oh my goodness, girl. So tea time. So all right. So today, what I thought we gonna talk about today, might as well talk about the elephant in the room, right?
Yes.
And so right now is a big elephant in this room. And so the big elephant in the room right now is this whole situation that's going on with DL Hughley and with Monique, right? And so yeah, that's little like that's under the fire. A couple weeks ago DL had made a statement about people who graduated from the university that I went to, which is Morris Brown College. So
Hmm.
I was kind of pissed about that because he basically said that people that graduated from Morris Brown got an elevated what do you say, an elevated high school diploma or some nonsense like that. And I'm like, ooh, that's not cool.
Yeah, that wasn't kind.
And I'm like, we not doing that. And so a
Yeah.
lot of people was very upset and said that, he needs to be checked for that or whatever, but end of the day, it is what it is. You're gonna always have people that make negative comments. Now,
Hmm.
getting on this event, this whole situation with him and Monique, you know what I mean? My thing is, right is right and wrong is wrong.
Hmm.
And I, listened to, what he was, what he said. I listened to what his side of the story was, listened to her side of the story, and he, honestly, from what I was seeing, he wasn't going to address nothing at all, but it was pulled out of him to actually have to do it. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
so, even though I still had feelings about what he said about my college, okay,
I know, right?
I had feelings about what you said about my college, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna let that interfere with my beliefs on what was saying, what he said in regards to that situation. Am I in agreement with what he was saying? I'm going to have to shoot and say yes, right? And I know it's a lot of people out there that's probably going to be mad, you know what I mean? But at
Hmm.
the day, I want you to sit back and do like I did when I heard what he said. I heard what she said. It just didn't make damn sense because at the end of the day, as an anger management specialist, what I
Mhm.
will say is this: you are not to target people. We see this happen every day. You don't
Absolutely.
target people's family. You don't target their children and parents. Is off limits.
That's right. I
Right?
agree.
You if you coming at somebody, you come at them. Don't come at the other people in their family. They didn't do nothing to you.
Hmm.
Okay. And when you start coming at people's children and people's parents and thinking that you know them, because see that's where all this comes from. People thinking they know. People think that they're very familiar with people, right?
Exactly.
And I think the familiarity came with them in regards to her saying that he came to her house, which he
Yes.
acknowledged coming to her house. Okay, I come to your house one time and not be familiar with your ass. Okay,
Hmm.
let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, because I did hear that where they had a show, only 10 people showed up. So she said, well, just bring your audience and come back to my house and just have dinner.
And that
Yeah.
was years ago.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And so, with that being said, you brought people to your house that you weren't familiar with. You knew them for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
so when you do things like that, that's when you have to say, okay, wait a minute. You know what I mean? How familiar, people's life changes. Okay. And when people's lives change, you have to be able to conform to your own change and not worry about what the next person is doing.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, folks don't. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, folks don't. And so one of the things that he said in his speech, because oh my goodness, Dr. Candace, did you hear his?
No. I
Oh, let me tell you.
oh.
When I tell you what he had to say, it was crazy because, like I was telling you on the back end, it was a whole situation going on, right? Um, on in another part of the world, right?
Okay.
Another part of the world, another part of Instagram, another part of everything, right? There's another situation going on. And as I'm listening to what he had to say to her, his rebuttal on her, rants and everything that she did at this comedy place, right?
Hmm.
Sitting there, I said, oh crap, this resonates to everyone.
Yeah.
When I tell you, I was sitting down, I rewatched his video about, I'm gonna say about 7, 8 times, right? And the reason I watched it that many times was because he hit key points that need to be addressed in life, right? The number one key point that he addressed is being what did he say? Oh my god, what was the statement I told you, Dr. Candace, over
Um. Oh
wait a
wow.
minute. I wrote it down. Where my phone?
Hazardous.
Oh,
It has
occupational hazard. There it goes.
absolutely.
Occupational hazard. That was the number one thing that resonated that he said, right? And I mean, we could take this everything that he had to say, we could take it so many ways, right? How
Hmm.
many of us have been in situations where we have been around an occupational hazard?
Wow. I only saw a snippet when
Mhm.
he said that she has had problems with other people as well, other
Yes. Is a
celebrities.
whole
And
yes.
he said when it's not us, it has to be you because there's always a problem.
Mhm. And
I
you
saw
know,
that snippet.
yeah, and and I mean, being in the field that we're in,
Mm.
right? And
Yes,
I don't want to laugh, but I'm saying it's just like, okay, so I see a lot of clients, Dr. Candace see clients as well, right? And the first thing people say is, what? This one has a problem with me. That one has a problem with me.
yes,
I don't know what's wrong. And my thing is not me. It's not me. And if
exactly.
you, then who the hell is it?
Exactly. I like what Alex said. It says, what's the common denominator of her problems? And she's the
Right.
common denominator.
I'm gonna say right with the right. I'm gonna say the root of
Absolutely.
all the problems is always about money.
Absolutely.
But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's like when you sit there and you think about, like, and I tell people, go back and rewatch what he was saying, right? And see
Hmm.
what you get out of it. When I tell you, I just sat there like taking notes,
Wow.
because you can take it from so many places, right? It's so many people out here, right? Doing the most in business, right?
Yeah.
They're putting the blame on others for their
Hmm.
downfalls, right? When you in the workplace, right? Let me tell you, and it's like so funny. I ain't gonna mention no names. I ain't gonna mention my last workplace just in case people know, because I know folks that will be watching this, right? That I used to work with. And it's so funny because I know each and every one of them that I used to work with is thinking about the occupational hazard
I
that
like that.
that they're still working with, right? And I'm gonna tell you, the occupational hazard don't even have nothing to do with management.
I like that.
You know what
Occupational
I'm saying?
hazard.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like when you think about things that's going on, it really made you think about things. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? It made you think, well, because you and I are on different stages, right? I do a lot of public speaking events, you do speaking events, we do a lot of lives, this thing. It's like, again, leave people's families out of stuff.
Exactly. I agree with
You
that.
hitting me below the belt, you know what I mean? And especially this day and time,
Yes. I
especially
totally
this day
agree.
and time, you leave people, because the thing is, people do not play fair.
Hmm. And not only that, you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. Leave people's family out. However, the snippet that I did see
Hmm.
with her on stage going off on him to
Hmm.
the audience, I think we're at a stage, and especially her, at a stage in her life at a certain age. We got to be a little bit more tactful than that. Yes, you're a comedian. Yes, we all cuss because I seriously, I cuss like a sailor. I get it. Been there.
I do too.
However,
But
yeah,
once you hit over 50, some things you need to stop.
you have to address behind the scenes. Give the audience a good show, and then when the show is over, Dio, can I talk to you?
Hmm. But you
Let's
know
have
she,
it.
but
Grown
you know
folks.
but she
Handle it
came
like
after
grown folks.
right. The thing is, she came after Vivica
Oh, see,
on her live yesterday, or the day before yesterday, because of the comments that she made on Wendy Williams show.
oh,
All Vivica said was what we're saying right now. It should have been addressed behind closed doors.
that yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
Carson was funny as hell, because Carson had me laughing because he was co-hosting with Vivica, and Carson went straight to the 80s. He went to a straight 80s move. He was like, all I feel is like you should have took that behind the scenes and then just went and keyed their car. Well, girl, I thought I was gonna die laughing. And so Vivica said to him, key the car, and the car say what? He said, and right on the car headliner.
There you go. I love it. There you go. Take it behind the scenes.
Because now you gotta pay for a paint job.
Right? Exactly. Right? I love that. He was on point. I like that, Alex.
Did he? Okay, so he says the time place for things. If I paid my money for a comedy show, I want jokes. I know, Alex, that's right.
Yes.
Look, and she on live now.
Yes,
Yeah,
he is.
Dr.
I
Candace
know.
already knew. So she's been
Yes.
on live for over 48 minutes, because Dr. Candace spotted her on live at 1 o'clock. Here we are,
Yes.
48. And I believe she was still addressing that situation.
Yeah,
And
well, she's bringing up his daughter. She was saying that his daughter had some type of issues or some type of problem, and he didn't show up for his daughter. And she said, "Well, I know if you don't show up for your daughter, brother, I know you won't show up for me." Something like that. And then I got off so I can come do the show. But yeah,
but my thing is,
why you talking about this man
why
kid?
are you talking about this man's child?
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about her kids.
Exactly. And I like both of them individually. I think they're funny. I love comedians. I love to laugh and kiki like the next person. I just think that we got to do better as a community and we got to
Yes.
do better as grown folks.
Hmm.
My whole thing is on a grown folks level. A lot of people are not working from an emotional intelligence level.
No,
Like
they
they
not.
don't have that. They don't. And I talked about that a little bit yesterday. A lot of us don't have that emotional
Well,
intelligence.
we're gonna have to definitely go in hard and address emotional intelligence. That has to be
Absolutely.
addressed harder now. because, and I think that's going to end up being a 4 week segment, because
Yes,
at the end of the day, people need to understand what emotional intelligence is,
yes.
and how to handle it. And if y'all want to, come to one of our private courses on emotional intelligence, let us know. I believe Dr. Candace already has a course already launched,
Mm-hmm.
emotional intelligence, so definitely make sure you get one of Dr. Candace's courses, and I know her and I will be putting some things
Yes,
together about emotional intelligence and artificial intelligence as well. Because
yes.
y'all need to know about that too at the end of the
Exactly.
day. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, because right now it's getting a little bit vicious, and
Mm-hmm.
it's getting hard. And the thing is, we as I'm gonna say we as Americans, I know
Mm-hmm.
people be like, don't call us that, but we living in the United States of America, right?
Yeah, I'm American.
We went through 4 years of name calling
Mm-hmm.
with number 45, right? And that was all the things that the parents instilled in us to get out of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We went 4 years of everything our parents fought to get out of us. We went back to that for 4 years, right? So this person leaves office. Now we trying to basically regroup it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
get our kids back to knowing that name calling is not the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, you see situations like this.
I know.
So where we trying to get it out the kids, what we gonna do for the adults?
Exactly.
We as practitioners, we as clinicians, we as
Mm-hmm.
practitioners that's out here. Now you mean to tell me that now our job is made even harder because now we got to get this nonsense out of them?
Exactly. I know. Reparenting grown folks. Teaching
Hello.
teaching adults how to reparent themselves. Yeah, that's
Sound like a
basically what
class
we're
to
doing.
me. Sound like a class to me.
Yes, it does. Right? I know.
Because at the end of the
Exactly.
day, that's what we got to do. We got to reparent them.
Yes. Yes, because that wasn't handled well. And I hope they reconcile. I hope they work it out and
I
figure
hope
it
they
out.
do too. I mean, my thing is everybody can agree to disagree,
Yes.
and if this individual is somebody you don't ever have to see again in life,
Hmm.
then let it go, move on, and just continue on with your life and go somewhere else, and just stop associating with each other. Stop it with the lives. Stop it with all of that, and just keep it moving. That's
Exactly.
Look, and that's my final T with Tyra.
Beautifully said. Absolutely.
Oh,
Beautifully said. Yes, 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 yes. All things relationships. Everybody, check me out tonight. The date has changed because now we into June, so I'm going on tonight, and the time has changed. It is 6 o'clock tonight on Instagram Live. All things relationships with myself, Dr. Candace, and tonight's topic will be couples therapy. When should couples seek therapy, and why they think they need it, and the different stages of couples therapy. So we're going to talk about that
I
tonight.
can't wait for that because let me tell you, I've had girl. At least, girl, that's a whole nother topic in
I
itself.
know, right?
I can't wait to come on live with you, listen to you talk about it tonight.
Yes.
I'm ready for my comments already. I got my comments already ready because
Yes.
people be wanting to go to couples therapy. Shit, you just met them online 5 minutes ago. Stop it. You
I
don't
know.
need therapy with somebody
I
you just met
know.
yesterday.
Yeah. So that's it. Tonight is couple therapy. Like what it looked like, the stages of couple therapy. When should you go? Is it worth going? Because sometimes it ain't worth going. Don't we try to
Hello.
it's already broke. We be trying to put a question mark where God put a period. God
Mm.
put a period. And we be like, question mark, got one more question. That I want 5 more years. But
Mm.
God said he closed that. Oh, y'all come through. That's gonna
From
be
that
nice
chapter
tonight.
to that chapter.
It's going to be nice tonight. But yes, with today's show on the Mental Health Minute, today's show, we are talking about exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is a therapy that us clinicians use. Some of us use it, some of us don't. They get all different type of modalities that we're able to use, and different tools and tips that we able and therapies that we are able to bring to the table. But exposure therapy is a therapy that many clinicians use, however, not everyone use. So I'm just going to give a little feedback on what exposure therapy is. Exposure therapy is a type of behavior therapy where the patient is faced with their fear, situation, an object, a thought, or whatever. It gears and is toward around fear, whether it can be mental, emotional, object, whatever it may be. But they are exposed to that. And when I say exposed, which we will get into, not thrown, we take our time with it. It needs to be handled with care. And exposure therapy is suggested to be one of the most effective therapies that has helped people with anxiety. So, my questions, well, y'all know I always come with the questions, okay? I always come with the questions. So, Dr. Tyra, I would like to know, and the audience would like to know as well, how do you, and if you use exposure therapy, how do you introduce it to your clients?
Yes, yes, and yes. I do use exposure therapy. Basically, it depends on the situation, and it depends on what their fear is, right? Because people have many phobias, and I mentioned it on my live the other night about how I had the list of over 100 phobias that people actually have. And when it comes to exposure therapy, you have to be very number one, the person has to be wanting and willing to change. That's number one. Number two, it's being able to make sure that you find a good way to to add that type of treatment into the person's treatment plan in regards to the exposure therapy, because the thing is, you don't want to harm the person. Now, the bottom line is, with therapy is not intended to harm anyone, but what happens during exposure therapy, right? The person is exposed to a situation, event, or object that triggers their anxiety, their fear, or causes them any type of panicking, right? So when I think, so like I can give did you have, what was your next question about an example? Because I can give an example right now.
Yes, I would love to hear an example. We want to hear an
Okay.
example, right, audience?
Okay,
Yes.
so an example of exposure therapy, right? I can give y'all a real funny real life scenario, right? So a few years ago when I first got started in media psychology, right? Doing media and getting myself out there writing articles, I did an article, a live article with Daily Mail, which y'all can look up, right? So the type of therapy that was being done is exposure therapy, right? So Daily Mail reached out to me and asked me for someone who had a fear of spiders. Do you know anybody that has arachnophobia? And so I said, if you could find someone, that would be really great. So I said, okay. So I got on the horn and I, put out the ask on Facebook, got a couple people to say, okay, yeah. So I found one person was like, yeah, I'm willing to go to New York. I said, everything is paid for. All you got to do is just come with me. So we go to New York to go to Daily Mail. I'd had no idea what Daily Mail was. Go in the building, and it was about I'm gonna say a 200-foot poster of Kim Kardashian. So for anybody that's not familiar with Daily Mail, yeah, definitely check them out. So go in there. They have this little guy in there with a box of spiders. So I'm gonna address probably a couple of questions that Dr. Candace probably will ask, right? Number one, we go in there. I didn't know what to expect. So I don't have a fear of spiders. I'm just like, it's whatever. At the end of the day, I'm not going to even freak y'all out with that. But it's, yeah, spiders is around us all the time. Let's just put it like that. Just frank and simple, right? Um, Number two, we go into the room, we sit in there, and so the person brings out the spiders. So I said to the gentleman who was the spider handler, right, who travels all over the world, not the United States, the world, getting spiders, right? So this gentleman who is a scientist, is scientist, of course, He going around to the schools around New York City, California, going around the state of California, going around the state of New York, doing taking these spiders into these classrooms, right? Calling himself, showing them to the kids, right? Exposing them to this, and you got kids in there that's frightened of spiders. It's going to be okay. Just pet them. And he's exposing these people, and he's doing a form of exposure therapy and don't know it because in his mind, he was focused on the spiders. So now, and he's like, I got phone calls about from some of the places telling me not to return because of, well, hell, no, don't, dude. If you go,
Right?
you need to go with a therapist, or they need to have the guidance counselor who should be trained in some form of therapy to come in the room with you so that y'all could discuss spiders, and if there's anybody in there that has a fear of spiders, right?
Hmm.
And so he's in there doing exposure therapy, did not know. We sitting in the room, and so the person I took with me, and I wish I had the article to post the picture here so y'all can see it, but I'll post it on my Instagram page so y'all can get a good laugh, right? Because she had the pillows up and she's like, ah. So we sitting there, and so I'm talking to her, talking her down, and I actually did a live exposure therapy session
Oh,
where I got her calm enough. So, make a long story short, so she did fine how while we was in New York City. When we got back to Philadelphia, she said she was good. She said she was
good.
fine. Next thing I know, she ends up in the hospital from a panic attack, thinking about the
And
spider.
that's one of the cons.
We didn't expect that to happen, didn't plan for that to happen. It happened, and her and I talked about it, and she was able to work through it, right? And so, I kept working with her after that, and so she was fine. So fast forward 3 weeks later, she runs into my people. And so they said, oh, they was like, oh, you went to New York with Tyra. How'd you do? Girl, I can't believe you went, afraid of spiders. Da, da, da. And so she said, yeah. She said, well, and they said, are you still afraid of spiders? And she said, no, I'm no longer afraid of spiders, but I'm afraid of dogs.
Okay.
Like, how the hell you take somebody with one fear and they come home alert with another fear?
Yeah.
They
And
said,
then
what you
it's very
do?
looking like what?
They go, what kind of damn therapist is you? People can't even get it right.
I know.
Look,
I know.
hey, you win some, you lose some, y'all. But at the end of the day, exposure
Exactly.
therapy is definitely, something I do recommend if you are trying to overcome something, right?
Okay. Let
So
me ask,
mhm.
Dr. T, do you recommend it for everybody?
I don't recommend it for everybody because a lot of people have trouble with facing their fears.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you don't want to put somebody in a position where they're so afraid that it becomes harmful medically and that they end up in the hospital. Because the last thing you want is for someone to have a heart attack or a stroke or something based off of being exposed to something that they wasn't, that they really wasn't ready to overcome. You know what I mean? When it comes to exposure therapy, you see a lot more exposure therapy when it comes to like people with airplanes. You hear people with bucket lists, right?
Hmm.
And bucket lists, honestly, is nothing but a form of exposure therapy.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you're exposing yourself to something that you normally wouldn't expose yourself to, right? And
Hmm.
using that as a tool to say, yes, I overcame it. I conquered it. I did it. I'm not doing it again.
Absolutely.
You know, and you see a lot of people with bungee jumping, zip lining, anything that requires a thrill. That's
Hmm.
what people use. That's when you could think of is a form of exposure. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? But however, when it comes to exposure therapy, that's, when you have people who are like, I'm gonna say one of the most common forms of person that has a phobia is like bridges. People who are afraid to cross bridges, that's a problem, right? And so they may ask for exposure therapy for that. You have some people who are afraid of dogs,
Mm-hmm.
exposure therapy for that. Especially if they're in an environment where they're going to see dogs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not going to say go get a job at PetSmart when you know good and hell well you're afraid of animals.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But you just have to be mindful with the type of with type how you expose your clients to whatever their fear is. I
Exactly.
mean, the second biggest fear is the fear of elevators.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, I know I don't like elevators. I don't like elevators because I was trapped in one with someone who was a who had Tourette's.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't mess, I go somewhere, I'm on the stairs. I'm just going to keep it out there and let y'all know I'm taking the stairs. I'm good with the steps. You need to get that cardio up anyway. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. So I'm going to piggyback
Mhm.
off what Dr. Tyra just explained to everyone. So for the audience, she is absolutely correct about all of those and different things and parasailing as well. And yeah,
Mhm.
exposure.
Yes. Yeah.
However, a lot of us clinicians use exposure therapies with things you would never believe. And I'm going to name three. And I know Dr. T can attest to this as well.
Mhm.
People pleasing, setting boundaries, and public speaking.
Public.
Yes,
Yep, but public speaking is on the list too, because that's
yes,
like that's part
public,
of the top five.
yep, yes.
Mhm.
Because I'm gonna tell y'all this: public speaking and death. Which one y'all think outweigh the other? People rather die first. They's like, no, I ain't afraid to die, but I'm afraid to get on that stage and speak in front of 800 people. I used to be one of them, y'all, because I'm an introvert. I am, and a T be like, Candace, go out there and do that live. No. Candace, go out there. That's me. She pushes me, if y'all want to know. Okay. Yes, she does. She does. So, public speaking and people pleasing. I have actually used exposure therapy with some of my clients in
Mhm.
regards to people pleasing and setting boundaries for themselves in order for them to start set for others. So, let me give you an example, one example about the people pleasing.
Yeah,
Some
please.
people are just people pleasers, as in they don't know how to say no. Like I don't know how to say no. I'm saying yes when I'm screaming no in the inside, where my body is just on fire because I really mean no, but I I'm a people pleaser, and I feel guilty when I tell someone no. I had a client like that. Actually, she's still with me, and she cannot. Well, at that time, could not say no. So with exposure therapy, we role play, and so we role play first. This is how we start, and we get, we would like to say, a dialogue together. We will write out different scenarios of how different things or people in her life and different things that she's asked to do. We will write them out. We get a dialogue, we get scenarios, we get things together, and we start slow. So when she is exposed, I hope y'all hear me, exposed to those things with the friends and the family and the people pleasing, her and I have already talked about it. Her and I have already set up what we're gonna say. And she'd text and she'd say, Dr. C, I'm in that situation. I'm here. That's where the exposure therapy come in. Because we've already talked about it. You've already been exposed to that with me in my office. We know how this gonna play out. So I teach my clients how to give slow no's instead of fast yeses. Because she's a people pleaser. I'll say that again. Slow no's instead of a fast yes. Because when someone asks you, yes, 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 yes. So exposure, we play and have scenarios. So we play the scene out. So when she is placed in that situation, she's already played it out with me. And now she's learning and able to give a slow no instead of a fast yes. So that's exposure therapy with the people pleasing. With the boundaries with exposure therapies, is your body is the first to feel the discomfort and the uneasiness. So when you are present and mindful of how you feel and start and learn how to embrace your emotions, situation. Let's give an example. If you are in a relationship with your significant other and your partner yells all the time and it makes you uneasy, but you don't know how to speak up because you don't know how to use your voice, exposure therapy can help with that as well. With a trained therapist, say, well, he's loud and he yells, but he's not yelling with aggression or to attempt to harm me. It's just I can't deal with the yelling because I grew up with that in my home. That is a trigger for me, and it causes anxiety and panic attacks. So, what myself and the client or the patient would do is I will use exposure therapy. Again, we will play it out with me. We will do some scenarios. So, when she's in that situation to set the boundary, she will say, which she will play it out with me, that when you yell, when your voice goes to six, because that's what we do stages with numbers. Like your voice is at a six, when you can tell your partner, you're at a six, your partner should know after you've had the conversation that is bothering me, it's making me feel uneasy. So then they bring it and they back down and they come down maybe to a three, a comfortable three. So exposure therapy can be used for a lot of things, but with a trained professional, and Dr. Tyra was absolutely right, it is not for everyone because there are some cons with exposure therapy: flashbacks, nightmares, panic attacks, and aggressive behaviors. Because when you have nightmares, flashbacks, and panic attacks, and all that, it can bring on aggression because you're exposing yourself to a trigger. You're exposing yourself to something that bothers you, where it can be spiders, where it can be people pleasing. People pleasing, the people that are people pleasers, that bothers them, that makes them uneasy, that makes them feel a certain way. So exposure therapy can be used for that. When you don't have any boundaries set for yourself or for your loved ones, that makes you feel uneasy. So again, it can exposure therapy can be set for that, as well as public speaking. Public speaking, you write it out, you create scenarios, you have them practice, whether they practice in the bathroom. But my always go to for public speaking is record yourself so you can listen to yourself, record yourself on your camera, on your phone, just by yourself. And that's how you are exposing yourself to doing something you normally don't do. That is the sum of exposure therapy. So I saw we had some comments, Dr. Tyler. What were some of them?
Yes, some of the comments was Alex was saying in regards to bugs, his granddaughter saves every creature, but that one. He said
Oh, Pete.
he
Oh,
saves and D was saying that, oh no, D said her granddaughter.
yes.
D said her granddaughter saves every creature but that one. She even throws stink bugs out the door. And then she talked about being trapped. She was trapped for 6 hours one time. I'm assuming it was in an elevator. She never forget it. She said the dude that was in the elevator with her was having a panic attack. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then this is what I used to do to prepare for sales presentation. Michelle and the Gossip and Heifers were saying that they use the tactic of recording for
Absolutely.
for
Absolutely.
when they preparing for presentations. And believe it or not, that
It
actually
works.
works. It
It is
works,
exposure
you
therapy.
know, because I know, like, for me, one of the bad habits I had was saying, and I mean, and you mean, and and it was certain things that I had to stop getting out of. I mean, I still say it, but not as much.
Got it.
Now, can
Absolutely.
you use exposure therapy on yourself?
Well, what
With
you think? Because
Well,
mine,
I'm gonna say it's a 50-50 thing. It depends on the individual, right?
yeah,
And the reason I'm saying that is because number one, I don't know, at some point I got afraid of crossing bridges, right?
okay.
And
I remember
so
you told us a story. You had to go to work or something.
I had
Absolutely.
no here's the thing, I had no choice.
Yes.
Okay, so I live in Philadelphia and I was working in New Jersey, right? Now it's two ways you could get. There's three ways you can get there. Out of the three ways to get there from where I'm at, two of the ways is over a bridge, right?
Hmm.
Now taking the bridge to get to work at the time, it only takes me. It would take me 20 minutes to get from my house to my job.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if I decided and elected to go the opposite way, right, which was avoiding the bridge, that made my drive over an hour long,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I'll be going away from the direction that I needed to go to, and I would have to swing all the way back in to the.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's four different ways. I some because it's like four. I live near three bridges that connect, or three bridges, three bridges that connect Philadelphia to New Jersey. Walker
Okay.
Linden, Ben Franklin, Betsy Ross,
Oh,
and then route, and then I-95. Now I-95 is the long that's where it takes me about an hour.
yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the Ben Franklin, which I used to always take, that's my 20-minute run. You know what I mean? And so I really had no choice. You know what I mean? And so what I would do is I had my timing out. And let me tell you, when I did exposure therapy on myself, because I had to get to work, y'all, let me tell you, I was just like, nope, you're gonna get over this bridge, you're gonna go to work, you're gonna do what you gotta do, and you're gonna call it the daggone day. I would drink like a whole bunch of water in the morning. I would drink two bottles of water, two
Mhm.
bottles of water, y'all, in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I know if I leave, I know I'm not gonna go to the bathroom with myself. So
Mhm.
I would drive like a maniac and get to work
Mhm.
on time to forget about that bridge. Now, I'm about to tell y'all something that's gonna be really like, Tyra, you crazy? I didn't mind traffic.
Oh,
Like if I'm stuck in traffic, it didn't bother me because there's a whole bunch of people crossing together.
I like that. That makes
You know
sense.
what I mean? I always rode the middle lane because I don't have to look over the middle or the in lane or the in lane that was towards the middle median, right? Where
Mhm.
that separates the two sides because I'm not looking over. And
Yeah,
that's how I would get over to get there every day for 13 years.
I get it.
You know, but it didn't start my first, I'm gonna say my first, I don't know, 5 or 6 years in. It did, I forgot about the Tacony. That's another bridge. That's so it's 5 ways to get in New Jersey. Thank you, D. It was another bridge to get in. Yeah, I knew it was 4 or 5 bridges. Yeah, but however the case may be, you know. But I did what I had to do. The bridge that D is talking about, the Tacony Palmyra.
Mhm.
So it's actually where I named four, one, two, three, four, one, two. Is another bridge, the Tacony. The Tacony Bridge that D is talking about is a two-lane bridge.
Oh, yeah, she said it's time. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
they
no problem.
tried to make it look. They tried to make it 4 lanes, Candace. When I tell you, you might as well say the lanes is like with two cars going this way and two cars going back there. The lanes are so small, girl. It look like you're damn about to side swipe the
I drive.
person driving next to you.
That won't work. I drive a big truck. Won't work. Wow.
It's like what the.
Oh yeah, that won't work. Oh my God. But
Yeah.
yeah, so to
So
your question, can you use exposure therapy on yourself? Dr. Tyra says it's a 50-50. I say it's more like 70-30
mm,
because I'm looking at the data. Matter, you know what?
mhm.
I probably want to go 80-20 because I'm
Okay.
looking at the data of the world
Mhm.
because exposure therapy, ladies and gentlemen, is fear of. And
Yes.
our world, the data
Hmm.
is always fear. A lot of people are not living their best life because of fear. A lot of
Yes.
people are not going to the doctor because of fear. Won't go to therapy because of fear. Won't join the mental health minute because of fear. I don't know. It's
Won't
just
take your medicine because of fear.
exactly. It's a lot of people won't do a lot of things because of fear. So you can use it on yourself. I wouldn't recommend
Not
uh,
recommended.
just willy nilly because just doing something because you have to or because that's one thing. But exposure therapy, it's a little deeper
Mhm.
because it's you are exposing yourself and it should be with grace. It should
Yeah.
be with a trained professional and you
Mhm.
should take your time because it could cause, like Dr. Tyra said earlier in the segment, it could cause damage. It really can. Psychological, which was one of the
Psychological
reasons, the fear, but
and
also
physical. Hmm.
physical damage as well. It
Hmm.
really can. So it should be something that's done with caution. You know, exposure therapy I think is a good therapy. Which would you think it's a good therapy? Because it do have some
I think it is. I
pros.
think I think it is. Again, my thing with exposure therapy is just make sure whatever whoever you're using is familiar with it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want to see a lot of people end up in a situation like I know a number of adults and school children were in regards to this person who was bringing these animals around these people
Hmm.
and causing, I felt like it was causing some harm
Yes.
because he's like, I'm doing therapy.
No, you're not.
I
Not,
didn't
not.
realize it. And I'm sitting up here like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you're right, Alex. It definitely can backfire. Absolutely right. There are some things with exposure therapy 101 that myself and Dr. Tyra would like to discuss as well. When you are exposed to that or are seeking a therapist or you have some type of fear and you may want to use that modality because again, like we stated, there are several types of therapies out there. My personal favorite is ACT. I use that as acceptance commitment therapy. I love that. That's my go-to. Now you come see Dr. Candace, or I'm gonna use that on you without you knowing it. That's my go-to right there. However,
Mhm.
exposure therapy 101 is one step at a time.
Yeah.
For instance, let me just give an example. Like Dr. Tyra is talking about the spiders. I would not bring a box of spiders if someone have arachnophobia and they're afraid of spiders and that we want to use, it has to be an agreement. I
Mhm.
talk to my client, and so
Mhm.
that was a joke when I say I won't tell them about ACT. Of course I will. But you talk to your client and say, well, I would like to use this new therapy. I would like to use, it's not new, but I would like to use exposure therapy because of this. So instead of bringing a box of spiders myself, I will bring a picture maybe on the third session, not the first. The first session, we're going to talk about what exposure therapy is, what that look like, the pros and cons of exposure therapy. The second session, we're going to talk about what's the root? Why are you afraid of spiders? Where did that come from? Is it something that happened to you as a child? Was a whole bunch of spiders thrown on you? Did you see spiders? Did you walk through a spider web? I don't know. Just we want to talk about where that fear comes from.
Mhm.
And maybe the third time we will still have an open dialogue about the spiders. And then maybe the fourth, I'll bring in a picture. However, I will have the picture upside down first. And I will ask the client, I have a picture of a couple of spiders here. Would you like to see one? Are you ready? That's how you do it. So that's how I would do it. And so it's one step at a time. Another one is encourage decision making. You encourage them to talk openly about whatever the fear is before they are actually exposed to that.
Mhm.
Okay. The another one is to what is a con? Don't just throw them in. Don't have people grin and bear it. And
Mhm.
when I say grin and bear it, for instance, let's use Tyra for example. Dr. Tyra. Dr. Tyra was afraid of spiders, and I'm like, well, here's a spider. You could just do it. Just look at the spider, and it's a real spider. No, you don't have them do that. You don't have. That's forcing. That's a sign of force. And
Mhm.
another one is use positive reinforcement. So those are just some of the things of how I would do it with exposure therapy. What's your take on that, Dr. T? How do you feel?
I mean, because as we have this conversation, I think about how individuals have used exposure therapy. How people. I'm not going to say therapy. I'm going to say how people have exposed people to their fears, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't cool how they do it. And I'm thinking about like the one of the number one fears one of the other number one fears, because granted it's a whole lot of fears that's like top on the list, right? But when you think about people who are afraid of large bodies of water, right? And you think about people who are afraid of swimming, and people take and they call themselves being funny, and they push people in the water, you know what I mean? And they end up drowning or just having a heightened sense of fear, and I mean, to the point where I'm not getting in no water. I'm not going in no water.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's something that can potentially harm someone.
Absolutely.
And that's not what it's about. You know what I mean? Doing stuff like that. And granted, I know, we have those shows out there like called Fear Factor. You know what I mean? When you look at shows like that and Survivor, or whatever the heck that show is called, that exposes people to various things that they would, normally be afraid of, you know. But with that, you gotta take that with caution and heed too.
Mm-hmm. And I
'Cause
hope they
for
have a
me,
professional.
right, because at the end of the day, it's like when you think about it, that's people a lot of people have past traumas,
Yes.
right? And some people have been exposed to things that people don't know about. And the thing is, you want to be very, very tactful about it, because when they go to unpack all of the trauma and all of the things that has happened to them, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you want to be able to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So if when we talk about doing it on your own, sometimes you can't do it on your own. That's why I say it is a 50-50 thing. You need to be able to handle what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's when you need to go to a trained professional to talk
Absolutely.
about it. If you don't have a therapist, making sure you contact your physician,
Mm-hmm.
your primary physician, to talk about what has happened. You know what I mean? So that they can put you in the right directions, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to see anything happen to anyone, from being exposed to something that they aren't ready for. And we
Exactly.
see this all the time. This is where trauma comes from,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
exposed to things that they weren't ready for.
There you go. That was beautifully said. Exposed to things that they weren't ready for. So then you go to a trained professional to get, it's called exposure therapy, but to get unexposed to the trauma.
That's exactly what it is. You
Yes,
know, and
absolutely.
so when you think about, people who have been, sexually traumatized, you're not using exposure therapy on them.
Yes.
So I don't want anybody to get the misconception and think that, oh no, we don't do that. That's
Mm-mm,
not that
mm-mm,
no. You
mm-mm.
know, that's you have to use other forms of therapy for that, but that is not it.
Exactly.
When it comes to exposure therapy, and this is coming from me, I recommend it for I'm gonna say object based types of situations, elevators, swimming, um, dogs, cats, you think like that. I'm not going to use this form of therapy on someone who has had past family traumas.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what you do.
Absolutely. And it
It's
does help people with anxiety.
Yes, it does help people with anxiety.
It helps people with anxiety and
Mhm,
it increase. One of the pros with that, it will reduce the trigger because some of us are triggered. Remember when I talked about the people pleasing and the boundaries? You're triggered when
mhm,
someone calling and you are screaming no in the inside.
mhm,
And like Dr. T said, like she says, oh, you could, mine is I've used it and it worked because
mhm,
what I did the reason why I can bring that into this is we role play. We take that they are desensitized of have to say yes and they are wired a certain way, so
mhm,
we take the scenario because they already know the scenario, they've been through it, and I expose them to, okay, how are you feeling? You're going
mhm,
to be exposed to this later because they're going to call and then we play it out. But when it comes to other things, I totally agree with her, absolutely. But
mhm,
it does, it reduces the stress and it decreases the fear that
mhm.
you have.
Right.
Absolutely. And it makes you emotionally tolerable to certain things.
Yeah.
Emotionally tolerable to certain
Mhm,
things. Yes. So exposure therapy is, it is good. It is. And she's right with situations because it can be fear of situations,
mhm.
objects, thought, or a memory that gave them PTSD. PTSD, I'm on the fence with that one with exposure therapy. However,
Yeah.
anxiety, absolutely.
Like for me, I'm not using it. And that's just me.
No,
That's just me. I'm trained, but I'm not going to say I'm to that level that I would say, "Oh, I'm going to." No, I'm not doing that.
yeah, PTSD, I would not do exposure therapy.
Mm-mm.
But situations, certain feared situations, like I have a fear that I always say yes, Dr. C. I
Mm-mm.
always say yes. I've heard this. I always say yes, and I'm screaming in the inside no. I'm having an internal panic attack because I want to say no, and I'm told it's okay. So situations, object, a thought,
Mm-mm.
or memory of something. But then they also put PTSD, and I don't agree with that one
I don't
either.
agree with
I'm
that.
using PTSD.
Right. I don't agree with that. Like my thing is we talk ourselves out of a lot of situations.
Yes,
But things that we have to expose ourselves to, I know for myself, I will sit back and I will like if it's something that I don't want to do, like when I was working and I had to cross the bridge every day, I would talk myself into it. The same way I would set that fear because at the end of the day, it's all about mindset.
it is.
Is all about mindset. And once you're able to start changing your mindset, you can do what you need to do to get ahead, you know, to get ahead of whatever you're trying to conquer at that moment. And that's what I did. I constantly changed my mindset so that I could do what I need to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. So, what is your last take on exposure therapy? And
I
you know what? This is my question. Not
Yeah.
only is your last take, but how often do you bring it into your practice?
You know what? Lately, I haven't really had many people who really need to, with exposure therapies. I really like lately, I'm gonna say within the past year, I haven't used it.
Okay.
I haven't used it, and it's like, yeah, because when I'm thinking about all the clients that I have currently, everybody is pretty much, yeah. I'm just using regular cognitive behavioral therapy to help them.
Is that
Um,
your
yeah, CBT is my go-to. And it's just like, and I do, motivational interviewing also, as well as I also do ACT just like you,
yes,
you
ACT
know.
is my first,
Hmm.
mo- motivational is my second, and cognitive behavior therapy is my third.
Right. And I go to solution focused therapy
Yes.
because solution focused, that's like almost like one of my number ones. Because my thing is,
Right.
I'm gonna
Absolutely.
sit back and you tell me your story and I'm going to repeat it all back to you
Mm-hmm.
so that you can see where we making sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
number three. CBT is my last.
Mm.
Absolutely. It's my last.
Yeah,
It's my
so yeah, CBT is my first,
mm-hmm.
solution focus is my second, motivational interviewing is my third, and ACT is my fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go into Gestalt and Jungian and and I got my theorists that I, follow behind. But, for the most part, lately I haven't used it lately. You know, it's like now it's just like I think one of the things that a lot of people were fearing was I'm gonna say going outside.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But they realize they have to go out, so it's like I could say no, I haven't really been using it, but when you kind of think about it, where we say we wasn't using it, we all used it.
Yeah, because the pandemic happened and
Mhm.
we had to do talks and do different things and create different things regarding the pandemic and
And we had to
different
expose people to go tell people it's time.
that's right. So there we did. So we did.
We did it.
Yeah.
We just didn't realize we was doing it, but we was doing it. It's like, come on now, you got to live your life.
Yeah. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, that makes sense. So we did use it. So, ladies and gentlemen, did y'all have any questions? Any questions or comments about exposure therapy? It's something you may want to look up,
Hmm.
something you I don't want to use the word dabble in because you're probably doing it and not know that you're doing it, or it's probably
Right.
been done to you, but it
Hmm.
may be something you may want to look up and research about it.
Right.
And if you do have a clinician or a mental health professional that you're working with, you
Hmm.
may want to talk to them about it
Yes.
and see where they stand on it, because it's not my first go to, but I have used it for certain things. And like Dr. Tyra said, it hasn't been her go to for a lot of things, but she has used it. And I think we both have used it a lot within the last 2 years due to the pandemic.
Hmm. I say we have been because it's a lot. People
Exactly.
had a lot to unpack.
Yes, exactly.
During
And
this
we
last year, and it's
what? New normal.
exposing them to the new normal.
Yes.
And when you think about exposing to the new normal, it's just like it's so funny because I think my client said it best the other day when we met, and he said to me, he said, "I'm sick of these masks. I'm sick of these damn masks. I'm sick of virtual therapy. I'm sick of all of it." Right? He was
Yeah.
like, and just as I started to become comfortable with this new normal, with wearing these damn masks and thinking about putting on gloves, but I said no, I'm not going to do it. He said, just as I got comfortable, now we got monkeypox. I said,
Yes.
he said, and I'm not going to talk no more about it. He said, I'm done. And he said, I'm just over it all. He said, but I'm not staying in my house. And all I could do is laugh. But you know what? He was right.
Mm-hmm.
Just
He
when
was.
I thought, like, and he made a valid point. Just as I got comfortable, now I got something else to worry about. So
Exactly.
do I see a lot of exposure therapy coming in the near future? I do.
I do too.
I think monkeypox is now going to put people in the house
Yeah.
because
That
nobody want it.
yeah. I totally agree with you on that one because it the coronavirus, this pandemic we just well we're still in.
Right. It scared us to death. It scared everybody to death because we know death was the end result.
Monkeypox, you have balls on you. You can actually see. If we get the virus after you're taking the test, you stay at home 10 days, lay down some juice, you may be a little lethargic, some people, because it attacks the lungs, that it
Right.
affects them a little deeper. But other
Mhm.
than that, you stay at home, whatever. Can't see it.
Right.
But the monkeypox, it's, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's going to hit different. That's going to hit different. I totally get that. Yeah. But this was a great show. Do you have a last word for us, Dr. Tyler?
Last word for the day is I want everybody just to remain calm, do what you need to do to stay focused. Be open to changing your mindset when it comes to
Absolutely.
things. If you feel yourself experiencing any type of fear, and we know, we have the acronym out there, false evidence appearing real, where it applies to certain areas, not all areas of your life, right? We want you to be able to feel comfortable with the way life is for you and be able to adjust to your new normal because everybody's normal is different, but just being able to adjust to your new normal and feeling comfortable in it and feeling okay with coming outside and doing all the things that you need to do to make yourself productive. That's my last word.
Absolutely. You see what D said. I get it. I get it. Absolutely. Yes, I get it. Now, my last word is absolutely with everything that Dr. Tyra said. But you know what? Just take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. And we just wanted to bring to you today different theories of and different theories and different topics and different modalities, especially about exposure therapy. Don't worry about if you're doing it, has it been used on you, because it's not a bad thing. But if it was, you would know if it was done on you. Just take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, and check on your mental health. That is my last word. This was a great show.
It was a great show. Let me run one of our ads.
Yes, yes. Everyone, please go get her book. If I'm not mistaken, they can go in the bio. Here it is right now. Go pick up her book. It is amazing. It's
Wow.
an anger management journal, and we all need it. I tell Dr. T all the time, I don't have any anger. She said, you think you don't. I do yoga and I'm calm. But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I do have it. So yeah, I had to use
Yeah,
it.
I think I'm a host. I think I'm gonna do. I'm a host. I'm gonna host another anger management group. I am gonna host one. I'm gonna do it. See if I. I'm trying to decide if I want to do it live and virtual.
That would be amazing.
But I was thinking about also. I said I was thinking about taking it on tour, taking this doing a book tour.
Yes.
where I actually conduct the seminar as well as. So I'm looking at all the places that I'm going, and I'm just like, maybe I'll do something there.
Yes, that would be amazing. Especially if she come to Cali. Y'all know we gonna turn up.
Turn
Yes,
it up. Look,
we
trying to
sure
put that on the calendar now because we're gonna turn it up and turn it out.
absolutely. So this was a great show. We welcome and thank all of you for joining us. You will see us again on the 17th.
Yes.
We will be here on the 17th. Is that correct, Dr. T? We here on,
Correct. Correct the mundo.
and we gonna be on time. We be behind stage talking, but we gonna be on time.
Chatting, y'all, chitting and chatting. We off the chain.
Yes, but we will be on time again. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Dr. Tyra appreciate it. And thank
Yeah.
you for joining the Mental Health Minute.
Thanks. Have an awesome day, everybody.
Bye.